there. Well, let's cross live now to the Place de la République, where many people have already been placing tributes. We're going to talk to our senior reporter, Catherine Norris Trent, who's there for us. Catherine, it is set to be a highly emotional day, isn't it?
That's right, Stuart, and there's already quite a lot of emotion here in the Place de la République, this square in the east of Paris, which became emblematic after the Paris attacks, where people came down to pay their tributes. It was in the streets around here that many bars and cafes were targeted, and the Bataclan concert hall, where there was that deadly siege, that bloodbath. It's just a few hundred meters down the road. So today here, as 10 years ago, people have been coming to pay their respects, to place flowers and light candles, and to just spend a moment on their way to work, perhaps, to think of those who died and to think of what that means to them 10 years on. I was speaking to one lady, Fabienne, who lives in the neighborhood, who was extremely moved, with tears in her eyes, saying that this brought it all back, that she hadn't thought about the 13th of November attacks for some time, and in the last few days it's come on like a tidal wave. She said at the time to see these candles being lit gave her the hope that, you know, light would overcome the darkness. And so there's a feeling of real emotion down here on the streets. Those attacks that really rock this city are being remembered once again. And behind me on a giant screen, where some of the commemorations will be live broadcast in this square, there is the motto of Paris, Fluctuat nec mergitur. She is rocked by the waves but will not sink. That's the Latin motto of the city of Paris, and it really gained its own meaning following those attacks, for people showing strength and showing the resolve to carry on despite the deadly attacks.
Catherine, how would you say that Paris has coped since the attacks over the last 10 years?
Well, a lot of people, you know, have managed to work past the trauma and rebuild their daily lives. So the bars and restaurants which were hit, the Bataclan concert hall, they're actually open and working again. They've carried on despite those attacks hitting them, and despite, you know, members of staff being among those who were killed. For people in this neighborhood, actually, I myself don't live too far away from here. And, you know, of course, that there's been shock, there's been grieving, but there's been a determination to carry on with our daily lives. We mustn't forget, of course, there were 130 people who died on that night. 2 other survivors have taken their own lives in the years that followed because of the deep trauma they suffered. And there were more than 400 people injured. Those people have been suffering with post-traumatic shock, and you can imagine for the security forces too, that's been something they've had to really work through over the years. But there is a sense that life carries on in defiance of those terror attacks, and actually it's spurred a lot of people on. I'm just going to tell you a very short story about one of our team who was just a teenager when these attacks took place. Today she's 24 years old, Gail, and she just told me those attacks were what inspired her to become a journalist, and she's down with us here covering these commemorations today.